It's 19 hours GMT. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Joy News Prime. We are coming to you from our studios here at COCOBOD, namely here in Accra. We're also live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 125, and around the world, we are on myjoyonline.com. Coming up tonight, government releases 855 million cedis to settle arrears owed cocoa farmers amid ongoing crisis as majority back sweeping reforms to revive COCOBOD. Also tonight, proposed bill to overhaul national security architecture ignite fierce debate in Parliament as government moves to change the name of the NIB back to its original name of BNI. And Center for Democratic Development Ghana raises concern over growing unresolved ethnic conflict as it reveals Ghana spends about 6 million Ghana cedis every month to contain the Boko crisis. Tonight, government has released 855 million cedis to settle arrears owed cocoa farmers following the recent payment crisis that left many producers unpaid for months despite delivering their produce to buying companies. In the wake of the crisis, government has announced a sweeping package of reforms aimed at stabilizing and restructuring the cocoa sector, including a controversial reduction of more than 1,000 cedis in the producer price per bag. While speaking to journalists in Parliament, Chairman of the Finance Committee, Isaac Adongo, defended the measure, insisting they are necessary to restore financial stability and place COCOBOD back on sustainable path. There's more in the following report.
The controversy about the cocoa payment crisis will not go away. It is still a big conversation in Parliament, with the majority now speaking out in defense of their government against a tirade of accusations that has come from the NPP side, the minority. Now, the majority say government is releasing nearly 1 billion Ghana cedi to offset some of the arrears that have come up so far, but assuring farmers that this is not a problem caused by the NDC, but the government is up to the task and is fixing the problem. Isaac Adongo is chairman of the Finance Committee in Parliament.
We have heard a lot of comments from our colleagues, and they have tended all of a sudden to pretend as though they are the people who love the people of Ghana, when Ghanaians were very clear that they were enemies of Ghana and didn't want them near the Flagstaff House anymore. The bottom line of all that has happened is that some amounts were owed to cocoa farmers, and the government took a decision to repay those monies so that the cocoa buying companies can settle those outstanding obligations. I'm happy to report to you that this morning the government has released 855 million for the purposes of paying those outstanding obligations.
Again, Isaac Adongo insists that cocoa farmers are better off than they were under the NPP administration, and that the NDC is actually fixing the problems that have been caused by the NPP.
COCOBOD entered 2025 with roughly 17.8 billion in loans, plus significant operational liabilities. So loans alone was about 17.8 billion by the beginning of 2025. And if you add this to other obligations, you will soon come to realize that at this point, COCOBOD was bleeding with an exposure of over 60 billion Ghana cedis. Certainly, that vehicle could not be sustainable and needed to be addressed.
Here in Parliament, you would think that this matter will just go away. Isaac Adongo insists that the NPP functionaries, including their members of Parliament, should actually be lashed by cocoa farmers for taking this position, despite he accusing them of being the cause of the problem.
When COCOBOD had 286,000 bales of jute sacks sitting at the port, they only went and cleared 91,000 of them and left the rest at the port. Meanwhile, they also had 75,000 bales of jute sacks. So add that to what is in the port. They had enough to last them another 3-4 years. But just a few days before they left office, they went and contracted and paid 48 million to bring in 80,000 bales of jute sacks. These are reckless people. If it was possible in the days that we were shipping people, these are people that we have to line up and tell cocoa farmers it is the conduct of these people that denied the government of Ghana the resources to properly take care of you at this point in time. So that we'll give everybody a cane. Cocoa farmers will ship you in tow. Then we will know who is at fault.
With nearly $1 billion Ghana cedi now being released to pay these debts, the minority continue to insist that despite this problem having been dealt with, they insist that government should revert to more than 3,600 Ghana cedis that it used to pay cocoa farmers. Reporting for Joy News, Kuku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Meanwhile, hundreds of cocoa farmers across Seshi and other major cocoa growing districts have staged protests against the NDC government following the mid-season cut in cocoa prices, slashing their income by nearly 30%. Demonstrations were reported in Seshi. We also Bekwai, Sonafo and Amenfi, with farmers warning the cut threatens their livelihoods. Here's the leader of the group.
Petition by cocoa farmers in Western North region to the Chief Executive Officer of COCOBOD through the Regional Manager COCOBOD Western North. We, the cocoa farmers of Western North region, gathered today at Sefi, respectfully submit this petition to the Chief Executive Officer of COCOBOD through the Regional Manager. We are law-abiding citizens and hard-working farmers who contribute significantly to Ghana's economy. Cocoa remains the backbone of our region and a major source of foreign exchange for the nation. It is therefore with deep concern and heavy hearts that we register our displeasure that the recent reduction in the producer price of cocoa is woefully inadequate and a bad example and precedent to start with. The cost of farming inputs, labor, transportation, and agrochemicals continues to rise, yet the price paid to farmers has been reduced. The general cost of living in Ghana continues to increase. Farmers are struggling to pay school fees. I must say that we are struggling to pay school fees, to pay our medical bills, and provide basic necessities for our families. Unfair burden on we farmers. Farmers should not be made to suffer for marginal managerial or policy challenges within COCOBOD. When there are financial difficulties, the burden must not be shifted onto the farmer in the village. We have nothing to do with management decisions and management inaction. We farmers therefore request that the right thing should be done.
Well, receiving the petition on behalf of COCOBOD, the Western Regional Administrator of COCOBOD, Enoch Ampofo, said the concerns of the farmers will be attended to.
The farmer welfare is at the heart of every decision that the management takes. The BNI more management sabi enye farmer no year yontia retodana biba na say enono de ayeden aba aha nanso so
COCOBOD management always puts farmers' interests first. COCOBOD is implementing a turn-around strategy that will deliver results. We ask for your patience as we work to resolve these issues. Many of us are cocoa farmers ourselves, so we deeply understand and share in your concerns.
Boardrooms are industry no akomuno yenim se enche biara ye be free eno nti yesre nana ene de nkofo nyina se abotere na ye nye free no ho se wo munya abotere na wo moma emre kakra yenim se anya hwe no ye be free ese hu se ye nyina asoso ye kuko farmers ni bi enti bibia ni ayen soso yete.
Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Tafo, Vincent Asefua, has petitioned the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice Shraj to investigate what it describes as abuse of power and administrative malpractice within COCOBOD. Here are details of that statement we'll put on your screen shortly. And you see the allegations in that petition that he won't address. One is conflict of interest. Second is abuse of office. And third, administrative malpractices at COCOBOD. Now, what this petition is basically about, he said this petition specifically concerns the conduct, role and influence of Mr. Ato Boate, the acting Deputy Chief Executive in charge of finance and administration of COCOBOD, in relation to the operations of Atlas Commodities Limited a private company engaged in cocoa-related commercial activities. Now, the factual background to that claim is that the gentleman previously served as CEO of Atlas Commodities Limited in 2018, and 2, clear prior executive and fiduciary relationship. Now, his current position at COCOBOD, he is the acting deputy chief executive in charge of finance and administration at COCOBOD, which he believes is a highly strategic role with substantial influence over these key areas. 1, financial management and approvals. 2, administrative control. 3, regulatory oversight processes. 4, institutional decision-making affecting LBCs and cocoa sector operators. Now, the regulatory concern in the petition is that Atlas Commodities Limited operating within warehouses registered under Produce Buying Company. 2, each warehouse is required to be registered under and used exclusively by a specific licensed buying company. Warehouses must not be used for the storage, grading, sealing, or processing of cocoa belonging to any other company. Raises serious regulatory compliance and governance concerns. Now, the legal and constitutional basis for this petition, and you see A, Article 284 of the 1992 Constitution, quotes, a public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interests conflict or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office. And of course, B, Public Office Holders Act 1998, Act 550. This act prohibits public officers from engaging in conduct that places them in situations of conflict between official duties and private interests. Still on legal and constitutional basis for the petition. C, Shraj Act 1993, Act 456, Section 71A. Shraj is mandated to investigate, quote, violations of fundamental rights and freedoms, injustice, corruption, abuse of power, and unfair treatment of any person by a public officer. Now, the issues for investigation in the petition. 1, whether prior executive leadership and current role constitute a conflict of interest under Article 284 of the Constitution. 2, whether full disclosure of this prior association was made. 3, whether Atlas Commodities Limited has received any preferential access, regulatory accommodation, or operational advantage. And 4, whether use of PBC registered warehouses violates COCOBOD regulations. And 5, whether the circumstances disclose administrative malpractice, abuse of office, regulatory capture, or institutional compromise. Well, away from the cocoa issue, government has proposed in a new law before Parliament to reintroduce BNI under a new name, Bureau of National Intelligence, to prevent a confusion with the current name NIB, which is often associated with the National Investment Bank, NIB. The Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill is also seeking to place the National Security Coordination under the presidency, while effectively scrapping the Ministry for National Security. Minority MPs have kicked against the proposed reforms in the bill, describing it as flawed and overly centralizing power in the National Security Coordinator without adequate safeguards. Here are excerpts from a debate in the chamber yesterday.
We have a situation where when you say NIB, people are wondering whether you're talking about the bank or you're talking about the security agency. So, Mr. Speaker, one of the significant things that we are trying to do is to reintroduce the name BNI. But this time, even though the BNI of yesterday was Bureau of National Investigation, this BNI will still remain Bureau of National Intelligence. If you are not careful, you create conflict between a detailed ministerial role and the function of the National Security Coordinator, because it's supposed to coordinate all the activities within the space. So one of the things that we are trying to do is to keep this position as more or less of that of the president, and then he gets one of his ministers to play that oversight without the necessarily fine detailed designation of a minister for national security, so that as much as possible you try to avoid the conflict between the minister and the national security coordinator.
They say it is their direction. So I'm asking, if in 4 years, and it will happen, you are no more in power, we were expecting the new government to also bring a new act to reflect their direction. Is that what we are saying? So you cannot say, Mr. Speaker, that the policy direction for which you are changing the bill is because you want the national security coordinator to coordinate the activities. It's already, that's what is being done. And so it will be dangerous for this nation to make that office an agency and say that Parliament shall audit its accounts just like what they are doing to others. I think it's a misplaced priority. If you do that, you will suffer. Take it from me. You will have difficulty because when you need your soldiers to move in 30 minutes to quell an instance, you won't have resources. If the president has a problem of appointing a minister, he should not appoint the minister as he has done. There's no need.
The memorandum before us does not provide any empirical evidence to suggest that Act 1030 has failed. It appears that this bill is more founded on partisan political interest than a national security interest for good governance. What is being proposed? So much power is being given to the coordinator. It is not clear how his powers are going to be fettered. Mr. Speaker, my submission is that if you give such powers to the coordinator and you do not provide for a clear path of responsibility, accountability, and oversight, it becomes problematic to you yourself as a government. And when the rights of citizens are being abused, the man will come and tell you that in the name of national security, there will be the need for the minister to sit with us as a house, do further winnowing, and incorporate the major concerns raised by the minority on this floor.
How for the clients? When they finish, they say, my lawyer spoke. The way my lawyer cannot. Did you see the way my lawyer was talking? The other lawyers in the courtroom know that he said nothing. I have listened to all that my friends on the other side have said, and I cannot hear anything. We indeed cut down the number of ministers. The decision to amend this. And among the ministries that we decided to guillotine was the Minister for National Security. The fundamental thing about this bill is to revise the existing legislation and take out the imposition of a Minister for National Security. What you did here is to force the hand of a president so that he must appoint a Minister for National Security. It was a wrong thing for us to have done as a parliament. And this historical wrong has to be corrected. And that's what we are doing today. We are correcting the wrongs of the NPP government.
We're from the Center for Democratic Development Ghana has raised concern over the growing cases of unresolved ethnic conflict in the country. This phenomenon, the CDD has observed, is putting a heavy financial burden on the state. CDD, for instance, report revealed that the protracted Boko conflict alone cost the state at least 6 million Ghana cedis every month to manage. Listen to the Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement, Dr. Kojo Pompone Asante, make the revelation during the CDD's assessment of the first year of John Mahama's government.
The key challenges that we have with domestically, of course, is the land conflicts, the chieftaincy conflicts, most of them that are linked. Boko is an ongoing one, and really the challenge of trying to mitigate, resolve these conflicts, and the cost that it is imposing on us, because now we've sort of moved from some sort of, episodic, sporadic engagement to more having boots on the ground, having, units in all these conflict zones. But as has been shown, Boku Security Task Force was costing 6 million a month, you know, and that's, I don't know even if that's a conservative estimate. But how many, you are sending 400 troops to this conflict, to that conflict, to that? How are you going to, you know, sustain this over time? What are we doing in investing in really the preventative parts, the conflict resolution parts, and so on?
On illegal mining, CDD flagged the lack of proper coordination of NIMO's activities and the inadequate prosecution of perpetrators, especially foreigners, as key threats to this government fight against the canker.
The way NIMOS is operating, insufficient funds, there's no way they are going to be able to do the job that they are supposed to do. What we know from the strategy they set up is to ensure that they were going to deploy permanently to about 21 locations in 7 hotspot regions. That has not happened. What we are seeing is sporadic raids here and there, and that is not yielding result. They go to, say, Jemira Forest in Ashanti region, they come back to Accra, the people just wait by the windows and all of that watch. Once you get to Accra, you don't even get to Accra, they go back to the forest. They are seizing equipment, but where are the equipment going? Who's working with these equipment? So these are all issues that we need to look at. Now, I think that even if there's some sort of prosecution going on, we are not seeing the penalties becoming deterrent enough, because these miners, they are rich. And we are not making sure that the penalties are deterrent enough. So they always go back. One thing that we have also seen here is that we need to put in place very deterrent measures. But to have policies where, for example, Act 995 says that if you're a foreigner and you're arrested, you need to be prosecuted. Now the government comes out with a policy that says that, oh, for foreigners, we have an arrangement with our development partners, so we'll let them go. And then you jail your own people.
Well, this is CDD's proposal on how to improve transparency around Ghana's security budget.
There is also a lot of work that the government was trying to do with really trying to formalize the whole security architecture and bring it to sort of more, to have more accountability around it. So currently the national security budget transferred to Ministry of Interior, because the Ministry of Interior is also serves as the National Security Minister. And maybe that brings it more into the purview of Parliament. But we really need to resolve this architecture. I think everybody has to accept that, yes, we need much more scrutiny and supervision of our security activities. So any way in which that architecture is properly institutionalized to allow for parliamentary oversight and so on, and spending and all of that, that has to be addressed.
Well, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, COCOBOD, has declared a nationwide strike effective March 9, 2026, over the government failure to implement a new salary structure agreed on since 2019. Clad in red, the association's executive secretary, Isaac Bampo, warned that unless the government begins implementation, the strike action will proceed in full force.
The government has been mute over their own promises to implement the unique salary structure and other conditions of service with effect from 1st January 2023. In the light of the above, NIB decided to declare an industrial action to back the demand for better conditions of service for its members. NIB decided further that should the government fail to honor its side of the bargain, the constituents of COCOBOD will embark on a nationwide strike with effect from 9th March. We are declaring our intention that we are going on strike. I know you are going to say that, why are we negotiating? And then we finish negotiation and sign MOUs. So we have finished negotiation. It's implementation. We finished the negotiation already. It's implementation.
Well, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has saved the country more than 85 million Ghana cedis after intercepting and securing 12 articulated trucks carrying 44 1,055 packages of edible cooking oil, tomato paste, and spaghetti. Checks indicate that 18 trucks were automatically gated out of the system, yet only 12 were physically intercepted. Investigations are underway to determine the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of the remaining 6 trucks, as well as many possible collusion. Fatal Baga has more in the following report.
The trucks bearing registration number plate from Togo, Ghana and Niger were declared as transit goods from Akanu and destined for Niger through Kolongogo. However, they were moving without the required customs human escort, a major breach of transit procedures according to the GRA. Speaking to the media after visiting the Tema port to assess the situation, Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Nyako Ampem said, but for the timely interception by the task force, the nation would have lost millions of cedis.
Initial assessment of this by customs indicated that it was worth about 2.6 million in taxes. But when they did reassessment, they have realized that the actual value of the taxes that is due the state is over 85 million Ghana cedis. And so this is a huge revenue leakage to the state.
He has therefore given the GRA a one-week ultimatum to investigate the development, particularly the disappearance of 6 trucks.
I've asked Commissioner General to conclude investigations within 1 week. We are told that 2 customs officials were expected to accompany, to escort these goods that were purported to go all the way to Niger. Unfortunately, they were not. We will want to find out why.
The Commissioner General of the GRA, Anthony Kwesi Sapon, also expressed concern over the development and assured that the matter would be thoroughly investigated within the stipulated 1-week period.
As the Honorable Minister has directed, we'll carry out the investigations within the week. And once we determine the full measure of this action, we want to assure that the first instance we will do is that if these goods, as we have intercepted today, are found not to have been properly documented, we will apply the law of confiscation.
He further warned business operators to desist from engaging in activities that deny the state much needed revenue.
We want to sound a caution to all businesses and traders that they should voluntarily carry out their businesses in a compliant manner, and will support them as partners in national development. However, businesses that try to do activities or carry out their businesses in a manner that will try to usurp the right of the state and deny the state of the needed revenue, the strong arm of the law that we are mandated to do as we are experiencing or seeing today will stretch it.
Authorities say the outcome of the investigations will determine the next line of action, including possible sanctions against persons found culpable. For Joy News, Fatah Bayaga, Accra.
You're still watching Joy News Prime with me, Carlos Caloni. We'll take a short break. We'll return with more. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Well, the Vice President, Professor Jane Opoku Nana Juman, is urging Ghanaian women to refuse being belittled and intimidated simply because they are women. Speaking at the first annual National Forum on Women in Government and Media at the Jubilee House, she emphasized that stories about women should not focus solely on superficial issues like appearance at the expense of highlighting their intelligence and competence.
Musician Ifia thrilling the crowd at the maiden edition of the annual National Forum on Women in Government and Media. The event was held under the theme Leadership, Visibility, Public Trust. The high-level gathering brought together distinguished women leaders, policymakers, and media professionals from across the country to promote strategic collaborations. There were speeches, networking sessions, interactive dialogues, and more. Leader of the Women's Caucus in Parliament, Comfort Doyo Kujuganza, called for more female representation in Parliament.
Out of 276 members of Parliament, we have 41 female representation, which is relatively small as compared to that of the male representation. There is the need to fight for protection of the few women in governance and advocate for the increase in number of female representation, especially in Parliament. Our Vice President is the head of the economic management team. And how do we see it from '92, when she was nominated as the Vice President? The argument was she's an English student and the other one is economic student. But let's see the difference. Which one has performed better?
Chief of Staff Julius Debra called for more collaboration between women in media and women in government.
Remember when His Excellency the President nominated Professor Nana, we all said she's broken what? The glass ceiling. Very outstanding. But you know the part that I loved so much? When Prof. Nana herself said, well, you've opened the door for me to walk through, but I don't want to be selfish. I'm going to stand by the latch, open the door for many other women to walk through. And I think that is what she started today. The objective of bringing you here is not just to come and listen to a series of talks, but to try and network, make some good friends, collaborate as we progress, because that's what the president wants to see.
The Vice President, Professor Jenando Pukwajuman, urged Ghanaian women to refuse being belittled and intimidated simply because they are women. She urged Ghanaian women to reshape the concept of power.
We must refuse to be belittled. We must refuse to be intimidated. We must refuse to be shaped in other people's images. We must have faith in ourselves. We must refuse for anyone to talk us down. Simply because we are women. We are proud of being women. Women journalists and editors carry a particular responsibility, not because women are morally superior, but because your presence changes perspective.
Well, government of Ghana has reaffirmed its commitment to fully operationalizing the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act as calls intensify for the ratification of the African Union Convention on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls. At the opening of a 4-day ministerial meeting here in Accra, ECOWAS ministers and member states raised concerns over the continued marginalization of women and vulnerable groups in politics, warning the region risks missing its long-term goal of building an exclusive society if urgent action is not taken. There's more in the following report.
The high-level meeting in Accra has brought together ministers responsible for gender across West Africa to address the persistent underrepresentation of women and young people in political leadership. Sierra Leone's Minister for Gender, Dr. Izata Mahoy, speaking at the dialogue, acknowledged that despite their numbers and contributions, women and young people remain marginalized in political decision-making. A democratic deficit, she says, undermines equality, justice, and sustainable development across the region.
The voices of women and young people are indispensable to the future of our democracies. Yet, despite their numbers, energy, and contributions, they remain underrepresented in the political decision-making across across our region. This imbalance undermines the very principles of equality, justice, and sustainable development that ECOWAS stands for. Excellencies, we must acknowledge that political participation is not merely about numbers. It is about influence, leadership, and the ability to shape policies that respond to the principles of which we stand as ECOWAS.
To address this, she is calling for investment in civic education, mentorship programs, and digital empowerment platforms.
Quotas, affirmative actions, and gender-sensitive electoral reforms are not privileges. They are necessary instruments to correct historical imbalances. Equally, we must invest in civic education, mentorship, and digital platforms that empower young people to lead and to serve.
For the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Agnes Namomulati, the ratification and implementation of the AU Convention on Ending Violence Against Women remains critical.
Reiterating in the voice of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama that we urgently ratify and implement the AU Convention on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls, supported by national action plans. And then finally, accelerate financial and economic inclusion to ensure women and youth enjoy equal access to finance, assets, markets, and decent works.
With less than 4 years to the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals targets, ECOWAS ministers described the exclusion of women and young people as an unsustainable reality for the region's future.
Well, the Member of Parliament for Ododo-Dio constituency, Ni Lante Kote Ashi, is calling for tighter security at health facilities following the alleged baby theft at the Mamprobi Polyclinic, as he assures the family that efforts are underway to ensure justice is served. According to him, he intends to make a statement on the floor of Parliament to put for a full investigation into the incident. We'll hear from the MP shortly, but first listen to a relative of the recovered baby demanding full prosecution of the suspect.
For now, I think everything is under control, and the woman must be jailed. No, we'll do a follow-up. We are not going to let it go just like that. The woman must face the law. Then also plead with President Mahama and his administratives to come to support the family.
Sent to the Member of Parliament for the Ododo-Dio constituency, where the parents of the recovered baby live.
Already, His Excellency, the President has mandated the Gender Minister to intervene in this regard, ensure that all medical expenses are taken care of. He also donated some items through the Minister to the victim, the mother and the child, and then the father as well, plus some cash donations and so on. For us, in fact, okay, so currently as well, the child is undergoing medical examinations to ensure that the child is safe and very healthy. And so that's why they are at Kolebu at the very...
National News, Showbiz is up next. Stay with us. Well, Showbiz is up next. Becky, welcome.
Thank you so much. How you doing, Pablo?
I'm okay. Like your orange.
Oh, thank you so much. This evening, Kwakese is seeing the news. He was on prime time with George Quay, and he's been talking about a lot. And he's been giving us insight into his life, beliefs, struggles, and aspiration beyond music.
I was born a Christian. But when I found my own rhythm, I realized I'm also a traditionalist on the side, and I believe in tradition. But I was born into a Christian home. So in Ghana, you identify as a Christian. But growing up, I went through some transformations. at a point, you know, I was doing sadaqah.
You went to Islam?
At a point.
Wow.
I started practicing it. But
did they give you a Muslim name?
Yeah, Kamal.
Your name is Kamal?
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yeah, Kamal.
Kamal
Kesse, yeah.
It's a nice name.
Yeah.
I've always said that if I should ever cross to Islam, the name I want is Kabir.
Yeah, so my people in Nima, some of them, they know.
They know
Kamal, yeah.
Al-Haji Kamal. Yeah.
That's triple K, eh?
I swear.
Kwal Kamal
Kesse. Yeah, man, that's solid.
So, and along the line, I also, you know, delve into traditional religion stuff, and so I believe that is for us.
Right.
That is our tradition. And once we are born as Ghanaians, you know, there's a saying that the Bible was brought by the white man.
Very true.
Before they came, we were worshiping God.
Worshiping something.
Yeah, so I believe in that one too, because that is us. Yeah.
So where do you stand now?
Right now?
Today, if they say, this is Kwakese, who are you? Religious-wise, where do you stand?
Traditionalist.
You're traditional?
Yeah, herbalist. Yeah.
A herbalist?
Yeah.
That was Kwakese, the traditionalist and herbalist. Well, let's move on and talk about Yaw Sarpong, a solemn yet celebratory one-week observance ceremony was held on February 19, 2026 at Osofia Park in Kumasi in honor of late Ghanaian gospel legend Yaw Sarpong. The event brought together leading figures in Ghana's gospel fraternity, family members, friends, and scores of sympathizers who gathered to pay their last respect and celebrate his enduring legacy. Tributes poured in from industry players who described the veteran musician as a pillar of contemporary gospel music and a mentor to many. Yaw Sarpong passed away on January 20, 2026 at the age of 66 after a prolonged illness. His death, confirmed by his manager Nana Poku Ashes, sent shockwaves through the gospel community and beyond. The ceremony was marked by a heartfelt musical performance, scripture readings, and emotional tributes that reflected on his decade-long ministry and impact. Members of the Asomafo band were present, still reeling from the recent loss of their long-serving colleague Mami Tiwa, whose passing only weeks earlier had already plunged the group into mourning. Thursday's observance not only honored Yaw Sarpong's life of service through music, but also underscored the deep void his departure has left within the Asomafo family and Ghana's gospel industry at large.